Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. I'm Kimberly D'Souza in your company, and of course it's Friday. I'm going to be talking about, making Port of Spain a more resilient city. And so with me in the studio, I have the Mayor of Port of Spain, Alderman. Why did I forget your name, Mayor? And I know you so well, Joel Martinez. And of course, we have a rep from Habitat for Humanity. We have Mrs. Jennifer Massiah. Mayor, good morning. Ms. Massiah, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the Now Morning Show.
Thank you for having me and Mrs. Massiah on your show this morning. It's a wonderful morning for that. It's Friday.
Yeah, as I just said, it's going to be an amazing day.
And we have a lot going on today.
Of course. Well, let's jump right in then. Yes. Ms. Massiah, what does the project entail? And what is the purpose of this project in terms of making Port of Spain a more resilient city?
I was going to say, since it's a lovely Friday, it's about making the mayor look good, but then he's already a good looker, so I can't use that line, right? It is about accelerating the UN 10 essentials to making Port of Spain a resilient city by 2030. So by inference, there is a bit of work to be done still to make Port of Spain a resilient city, and the project entails gathering a number of stakeholders, a number of professionals from academia, from civil society, from government, and looking at what has caused the flooding over the years, what has caused some of the deterioration, lack of maintenance in some things, and how do we put an action plan together, commitment from stakeholders to make sure that by 2030 we have a resilient city. And I keep saying of recent, imagine a Port of Spain without flooding, and it's believable, can be done.
Good.
That's what it is about.
Nice.
Briefly and in a nutshell.
I like how you say briefly. Now, Mayor, I'm going to toss to you. How important is such a project like this for the city of Port of Spain?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you to Ms. Massiah and her Habitat for Humanity, USA, and all the stakeholders that have gotten involved to really help come together to discuss and to develop an action plan for the city of Port of Spain on the whole. So it's a remarkable moment for the city of Port of Spain as we are in the beginning of revitalization, and so it's a city that has not died. It's a city that's developing. And why is it important? Because you have seen when there's rainfall in the hills of Maraval or the hills of St. Anne's, what happens to Port of Spain. This is our capital city, and imagine that the capital city has to stop when there's floods, and we have to be able to deal with that. There was an earthquake the other day, and we were quite lucky at the end of it, but you could imagine if it was worse, what kind of impact it would have been on the city of Port of Spain, and for the development and the economy and livelihood of the people who live and work and travel through Port of Spain. So talking about being a resilient city is really about being resilient against the elements that can affect the city and affect the everyday way of life and the way in which people operate. And we want to be able to be a better Trinidad, a better Port of Spain has to be that impetus and has to be able to drive the dynamic. So being a resilient city is very, very important to the city of Port of Spain and to the Trinidad and Tobago and the city and the economy and everything.
As a whole.
Yes, as a whole. Yes.
Now, Ms. Massiah, this project, was it rolled out in phases? Is the first phase complete? Are we moving on to the second one? How is it going to roll out?
So thank you for that question. This project started as a dream, and then it became a reality. It's phase one, but it's the completion of that phase one, and it ends on the 31st of March. The expectation on this phase one is to deliver an action plan to His Worship the Mayor, and we will do so at 9 o'clock. I actually have the Mayor for the whole day today.
Yes, I feel kidnapped, but in a good way.
In a good way.
So in this phase one, we see the completion of this action plan. It was funded by USAID, the Bureau of Humanitarian Assistance, and we are hoping that we can approach them again and other stakeholders, private sector, other international funding agencies, to look at phase two, which would be the implementation. And I think His Worship said there may be phase three, which is pan in Port of Spain.
Pan in Port of Spain.
Pan in Port of Spain. I know Mayor loves his pan. We were just joking about that offset.
Yes, exactly. When she said phase two, I said, well, It's right here in the city.
Right. Now, I'm not sure if Ms. Massiah or even you, Mayor, would like to take this question, but there's a public engagement activity happening in the Port of Spain city today.
Yes, that's right, in Woodford Square. And, well, Ms. Massiah can talk a little bit more about it because she's very accurate.
With all that's going on.
Right. So between 9 and 11, we're presenting, the consultants are presenting to all of the task force and the stakeholders the action plan. Between 9 and 11, that's a closed meeting. But between 12 and 2, we're out in the promenade. And we're telling the public what the content of that action plan is, a little bit of light entertainment. And we're hoping that people will also sign up on the shelter campaign, which is part of the awareness for the Port of Spain project.
Okay, so it's a little bit about the shelter campaign. I think there's a play on the words, right?
Yes, shelter starting with the first 3 letters of she. It's a woman empowerment campaign, and we're asking people to sign on to support Habitat in the initiative and support His Worship the Mayor in this initiative, where we're saying, let's empower women, especially vulnerable women, to own land. I've been having lots of flag on it, Mr. Martinez. People are asking, so men are not entitled to own land? Yes, we are, but I'm just saying at this time, maybe because we're celebrating International Women's Day in this month and we're singling out the women, I'm saying this is the time, let's put some concentrated focus. Government developments, private sector, make land available to vulnerable women. If we do that, we will leaps and bounds increase our economic productivity. Just put land in the hand of women and see the difference.
When she wins, he wins.
He wins. I like that. That's a very good time. We can hashtag that, Mayor. Now, Mayor, I mean, she mentioned that something is happening on the promenade. So is it then that the promenade is open now?
Yes, actually, the promenade was open yesterday at 9 a.m. and we got the police to move the barriers. And you would not imagine what the promenade looked like just after that. People were so excited, they were ecstatic about the fact that, I didn't realize people love the promenade so much, know. And the fact that it was closed, it really disappointed a lot of people. So the fact that it's open now, it got a chance to breathe actually.
Yes.
And when I looked around and I saw the plants and the greenery of it, and everything was coming together so nicely. And I saw people dancing on the promenade at one stage. So I'm really happy that we have gotten to this stage, and I hope that we can get, as the Prime Minister indicated, we can get to that level of normalcy very quickly, and that we continue to protect ourselves, make sure, because you never know if there's another wave coming or anything like that, or there could be a spike here or a spike there. But the thing about it is that we have to really get back to developing and ensuring that the economy has a chance to give us that opportunity to grow and develop again. We were going so well, and we were developing, because the country was in economic crisis to some extent, but we had passed that, and then COVID came, and it really affected us and the whole world, as a matter of fact. However, we have a chance to breathe now, and hopefully we are at the end of the pandemic, and some people call it the endemic.
Well, be careful, because Minister Dialsing is saying we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
Hopefully, I said we're seeing positive signs.
Yes.
When you look at the sky and you say, well, okay, rain is coming. Well, you're seeing some sun is coming. Well, let's look at it from that point of view.
Yes. Well, I mean, Ms. Massiah, we have about a minute left. Any closing thoughts you want to give us before we actually close?
Well, first of all, we say thank you for having us this morning. And I want to say to the listeners in Trinidad and Tobago that it's very important that we begin to be responsible, even with how we live thereafter. Let's call it beginning of post-COVID. We're speaking hope into being. Let's continue to be responsible. Let's continue not to be up in one another's face. It's COVID is still very real and very there. But also, can we be responsible with how we deal with our garbage? Let's be responsible with how we build our homes. Stop cutting down the hillsides. Yes, you need to live. But can we be responsible with how we do it? Can we make sure that when we're doing our construction that we build better and safer? Can we make sure we put on hurricane straps on our roofs? Simple things. And we're out there, Habitat for Humanity is out there teaching and informing the public. Continue to go on our platforms, sign on, like, be engaged, and you get a lot of opportunity to learn what you should do as a responsible citizen, especially as it relates to Port of Spain, because we really want to make it a resilient city by 2030.
And you know, in becoming a resilient city, it's not just the stakeholders of institutions or people who are very interested. It really involves every single one of us. Or every member of the citizenry of Trinidad and Tobago is involved in making Port of Spain, which will ultimately make Trinidad a resilient place. It's important to all of us because when we do good, it ultimately passes on, and it becomes infectious, and we start to build and grow and develop. And we got to do it before 2030. So at the end of the day, we have to work together.
Great. Mayor Joel Martinez, Ms. Jennifer Massiah, thank you so much for joining us here on the Now Morning Show. And I mean, there's nothing much for me to say again. I think Mayor wrapped it up so quickly. So stay with us on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.